Hi, this is Wayne, President of Reality Ministries, with another episode in our podcast series, Speaking the Truth.
And this is Ben Fields back with you, and we're going to continue our series on qualities of a leader. And today we're going to talk about the resilient leader. And I think there's a lot to talk about here, but Dad, I'll just throw it back to you and just kind of give a definition of what you think a resilient leader is, and then we'll get into it.
Well, Ben, a resilient leader is someone that in the midst of adversity, in the midst of difficulty, sometimes even failures, they're able to stay the course to complete and fulfill the mission, the vision, or the dream that they have.
Yeah, and I would add to that, I think it's one of the things that with resilient leadership and resilient leaders, I think a lot of times what we see successful leaders, we see their success, right? And we don't always see behind the curtains of all the failures that have happened or took place, and so we assume that if we fail one time or we don't do something right or you get fired from a job or whatever it might be, that doesn't happen to people that are successful, or that hasn't happened to someone who's had all this success and woe is me. And we have a tendency to want to feel sorry for ourselves when things don't go the way we picture them going or the way we thought it should go. And sometimes, maybe it's not our fault, but sometimes it might be our fault. We need to take a look in the mirror. So resilient people, in my opinion, are also teachable people. And teachable leaders, because that is the way to be successful, is to learn from failures and mistakes. And so then as you learn from those things and you're teachable from those things, you then can try other avenues to try to be successful. And sometimes, as you know, resilient leaders, sometimes we might be in the wrong industry or the wrong job, and we think this is where we're supposed to be, and something happens where we fell out of that job, and maybe we get into the right job or the right career, and then we're successful, and we just kind of continue to push forward there.
Yeah, I think a term that you've used a lot regarding athletes, you've used the term recovery time.
Yeah.
It seems like resilient leaders have minimal recovery time to bounce back when things haven't gone well.
Yeah.
And that's, someone shared with me once an indication of my spirituality, and we'll get into that in our second podcast. The whole idea what the Bible says was how long it took you to bounce back when you went through difficulties.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And there's we have personal experience of how to be resilient, but what are some? Let's just talk about a couple examples of people that come to mind when we talk about people who are resilient, and why. Why are they resilient? What makes them resilient?
Well, first of all, I just think it's important to understand that a resilient leader has a compelling vision or dream that drives them. And secondly, they're able to bounce back, have an uncanny ability to bounce back when they fail or when things don't go well. That kind of characterizes them. And so we think of examples of that. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, everybody knows him as the president during the time of the Civil War and who got assassinated. But Abraham Lincoln, people don't realize how many times he ran for political office and didn't win before he was elected president. Or we think of Thomas Edison, all the inventions that he made. Well, gosh, he had a lot of failures along the way, and he just saw those failures as one less thing that he had to do in order to have a success.
Yeah.
And that's the way he viewed the failures that he had.
One of the things about failures, too, I think resilient leaders look at failures as opportunities, and they look at failures as motivation, as opposed to setbacks, right? And I think a lot of times for us in our personal life, think about the times where you failed or it didn't go the way you thought. Did you look at it as a motivational thing, or did you look at it as, oh, woe is me, and start to feel sorry for yourself? And I think resilient leaders who are successful, it doesn't slow them down at all. They just keep moving, to your point. And so you look at it. A person that comes to mind for me would be Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick was the coach of the Cleveland Browns, I think in the late 80s, early 90s, and had a little bit of success, but certainly not the success that he had in New England. And one of the things is that he's always been a smart football guy. He's always been a smart football mind. But it'd be interesting if we talked to Bill Belichick. I'm sure he would consider the Browns' job. He would probably consider that as not his most successful from a record standpoint, as far as playoffs and championships and that kind of thing. But I bet he wouldn't. I bet he wouldn't tell you that was a waste of time either, because that was a building block for what he did at the New England Patriots as a head coach and all the success that he's had there. and obviously one of the greatest coaches in NFL history based
on
just wins.
That's not because of him. It's because of Tom Brady, right? We both know that Tom Brady was the reason.
Well, he drafted Tom Brady, and he gave Tom Brady his first opportunity there. So.
Yeah,
but my point is that you can't look at every failure or what the world says is failures as a failure. It's a building block sometimes for something else. And so whether it's Thomas Edison or Abraham Lincoln, what they were doing is building for that moment of success that they've had, or that they had moments of success that they had. And I think we should try to do the same thing as a resilient leader in a leadership role. As, hey, you're trying to fix something, and it's not getting fixed. Well, try it another way, or maybe you're not the person that needs to fix it. And so that's some of those. That's something that's just interesting. In my opinion. So what else about a resilient leader?
Well, I was thinking about some of the adversities that they need to deal with.
Yeah.
Sometimes, oftentimes, and the higher level they have, the more this happens, criticism, sometimes false accusations even, betrayals, disappointments of people. And we see that a lot in the political realm. And we see that in other places, probably, especially with high-profile people who are out to get them. Somehow resilient people bounce back from that stuff. I mean, people have said that if you're going to make it in politics, you got to have Teflon.
You do.
And Jack Welch used to run General Electric, and they called him the Teflon Man, I think, because he was able to handle that kind of stuff. Sometimes they have to deal with intimidation. People that are out to get their job or get their position. But the important thing to remember is that resilient people keep moving forward.
Keep moving.
They don't stop moving forward.
I agree.
It doesn't stop them in their tracks.
I agree, and they're willing to talk about their failures, own their failures, but not get stuck on their failures. There's a difference there too, right? And I think that's a good thing. So I think what we'll do is we'll leave it there today for the resilient leader. Next time we'll continue with the resilient leader, but we're going to talk about some from a biblical perspective, and we're going to tackle it that way and talk about some resilient leaders in the Bible. So thanks for joining us today. You can follow us on realityministriesllc.org, and there you can follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Have a great day.